Hello everyone, thanks once again for joining me. Today we're going to continue our landscape lighting series, and this video is going to talk about how to install landscape lighting. Now, before you go run out and buy lights and then just start digging in the ground and running wire, you really need to have a plan, because if you don't have your plan and diagram out exactly what you're going to do, you're going to make some mistakes and you may actually waste wire and waste money and potentially place them in the wrong spots. So I want to talk to you about how I came up with a plan and what I feel everyone else should do to help to do this effectively. So I'm going to go to the workbench and we're going to get on the dry erase board and show you how I came up with my plan. Okay, so here we are at the dry erase board, and I guess you may be seeing some glare from the lights above. I'm going to try to keep them positioned over what, this is a diagram of the shape of my house, all right? And so before you even buy anything, you need to think about this. And the first thing is where your transformer is going to go. So now your transformer needs to be near a spot primarily where you can plug it in. So if you have an exterior outlet anywhere around the house, or if you have multiple exterior outlets, then you want to position the transformer near one of them that is more centrally located to where your lighting is going to be. Now for me, the only spot that I had for a transformer was right here. And right here, where this X is, I have an outlet, and I have quite a few exterior outlets, but that was the best spot for me because I want to get wires down here to the front of the house, and also I have a lot of lighting in the back. Okay, so then the next thing you want to do is plot out where these lights are going to be in your yard. So grab maybe yellow. Let me see if you can see yellow. Maybe I'll use some red. Maybe that'll be easier to see. Okay, I've got some lights here, like this. There's a light under a tree. There's a light under a tree here. A spotlight here. We've got two lights here. I've got 3 lights here. And some more over here. Okay. And a lot in the back. Okay, got it? There we go. Okay, so there's a lot of lights. I went crazy. Now the other thing we have here is we got the garage and the driveway. Got a walkway. And we got a walkway here. Okay. All right. We got a patio happening. Okay, so how are we gonna wire this? Now, one thing that you have to understand is and before you buy wire, is that your wire can only handle a certain number of watts and over a certain distance. As you go farther away from the transformer, as you run a wire farther away, it starts to lose its power. And in order to make sure that you don't lose that power, you need to do one of two things. One, you need to use a heavier gauge wire to take it a longer distance, or B, split up your runs so that way you've got multiple short runs instead of one really long one that has every single light attached to it. Okay, so the first thing I would say is you can't go cheap on the wire just by shopping price. You have to shop for the right gauge wire. So what I decided to do was take a now before I get into tell you what I decided to do, I'm going to show you the difference. You've got here a 12 gauge wire, and that's the one you want to use to carry the bulk of your load. It's heavier gauge, and then you see here next to it is a 16 gauge wire, and that will carry some load and will feed a few lights over a certain distance, but not a lot of lights over a great distance. So what I decided to do was run my 12 to be the main wire that takes most of the power through the various connections. Okay, so let me again start interjecting some other colors here. So I ran a 12 down here, okay, and then it goes across and then over here. Okay, so then off of that I've got 16 gauge chutes to hit the other ones. Let me see if this pink will work. So I've got 16, or whatever color this is. I'm not sure. I'm slightly colorblind, guys. So I got 16 going to here, 16 going to here. Okay, so now we are using the less expensive 16 gauge, but from this point, this 16 can handle the 3 or 4 lights that I have on this run and also this one. Okay, and also from here, since I only have really one light down here, I might add another one, but still going 16 this direction. Now we've also got a big run here, so we've got a lot of lights down this way. So I've got a 12 coming this way, and then I split the 12 to go under the walkway, and I'm going to show you that in a few minutes how I do that, and then continue with another 12, which is going to go down here. Okay, I think I stopped the 12 here. Let me get rid of that and ran a 16 just to hit these last few. Okay, 16 to here. It was a connection point that made sense, and then I've got 16 going from here to here, and 16 going to here. Okay, what I do have over here is a hub that I'll show you where it all can connect together, and there's also a hub right here. That's a unique thing that I'm going to share with you when we go outside. Okay, so I've got various different branches here, and again the majority of the power is being taken the longest distances by a 12 gauge wire. All right, so you see these, this is 12 gauge, and then we've got smaller chutes off with 16. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Now let's talk about stripping this wire and also the wire nuts. First thing is you want to get a good pair of wire strippers, okay? And you want to, you can just split this by hand or just take a little razor blade and just slice it and be able to strip it. There we go. All it took was just a little bit. Then you can pull it apart. And you get a good pair of wire strippers like this. I have these referenced in other videos, but I can also link to them down below. I'm going to link to a lot of the things that I'm using in the description. It's my Amazon link, and it definitely helps the channel to pay for these things when I make the videos. You find the spot where it says, in this case, 16 gauge, okay, and then you can strip it. Now these I want to strip for this type of wire. I want to strip it longer than you would strip for an electrical outlet, okay, because we want to get good connection, okay, on it. See that? Okay, it's about an inch. And if it ends up being too long for you, you can always then, after you twist the wires together, you can bend it over. So what you want to do is let's take another one off so I can show you. And you can go from 12 to 16 if you wanted to, okay, inside the wire nut. Now, assuming these are two wires coming in opposite directions, you would, twist them together like this, and then get them inside the wire nut. Now let's talk about the wire nuts. I'm using these waterproof wire nuts. These are good ones. You can find less expensive, cheaper ones that are not as good. These have I guess it's a metal or electric. It's a substance inside that not only seals from water but also allows for conductivity. Okay, so you would put, I don't want to seal this right now, but you'd put this inside, keep twisting and twisting and twisting until the two wires start to twist together like this, and it's tight. You don't want to over tighten like you're tightening a bolt, okay, but you want to make sure that it's not loose. And once you do that, you now have a watertight seal. Okay, so I recommend these. I'm going to put them also in the link down below, so that way you will be able to again, nothing to go it's nothing you should be going cheap on, because you know, if you have issues with the wire nuts that you use, or you're going to use the cheap regular wire nuts and think you're going to wrap them with electrical tape, forget it. Okay, do this like a pro. Do not go cheap on this. I've been saying that a lot in these videos because it's important, especially when you're dealing with, you know, electricity. The other thing I want to talk about are the stakes. So these are the stakes that came with my lights. Very heavy duty, very thick. You're going to put them in there and they're going to stay. You're not like the cheap little flimsy things you insert to those solar lights that come in the big box stores, and you always see these lights leaning over, you know, easily. Then you're straightening them out and it just looks like crap. Once these lights go in, with these kinds of stakes, they stay, and they screw in easily to the bottom of your light. And this is the slot for the wire to go into the ground right here, just like that. Slot for the wire, see it? And then you're good to go. So you can even push these in before you attach the light and screw it in. You can step on them or hit them. I put a block of wood and hit it with a hammer on top of the block of wood if you need to. That's what I would recommend you do there. So now we got the stakes. Okay, let's take it outside, and I'm going to show you a little bit more about how to wire these up, and the wire nuts and a few other things. Now that we're outside, the first spot we're going to stop at here is the transformer, and I'm going to link to my transformer also down below. This is a 300 watt transformer. I installed this because I knew I was putting a lot of lights, and I wanted to make sure I had enough power for the future. You could get away with a 150 if you're not going to be installing that much. And also, this transformer's got the 15 volt section and a 12 volt section. So the 15 volt also, even though I'm using this is a 12 volt system, all this means is that you're providing more power into the wire, and this is what I put the 12 volt wires into, because if you remember what I just said, the 12 volt wires are the ones that are going to carry the majority of the load. So I'm pumping more power into these 12 volt wires. Don't worry, it's not a problem. This is what it's for. And really easy. You just open this up, put the wire inside and close it, and it's locked in. And these other wires here that I have on the 12 volt are the smaller gauge wires. And then all of them, you know how the wires got two? You got the one where you're going to bring power, it goes in here, and the other side goes in the comm. So all of the wires eventually come back here to the comm, and then you decide which the other side goes to. Now, in my prior video, I talked about why I chose the lights that I chose, and one of the reasons is that there's no specific polarity required, meaning it doesn't matter which side of the wire goes where, and even down, it doesn't matter which side of the wire gets wired up to the lights themselves. And that's a really good feature, because you're not having to figure out, okay, is it the one with the writing on it that none of that matters. They can cross as many times as needed as you're wiring down the line. So
And this thing has also got the photocell, and you can decide when it comes on, when it comes off, dusk to dawn. You can do, once it gets dark, 2 hours it stops, after 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours. After dark begins, that's when it'll shut off. I'm not using any of those right now. I have it on all the time, but I've got a smart plug in the outlet there. I've got a video on smart plugs too, which you can watch, but a smart plug, which is a Wi-Fi, and this one was I used to use this for Christmas lights. The smart plug is in here, and it's connected to my Wi-Fi system, and I've got the plug on a schedule that I prefer, and I can turn these lights on and off with my phone because everything's plugged into the smart plug. So this is on all the time, providing that my smart plug turns on, and the minute it turns on, all the lights turn on. As soon as this thing turns off, all the lights turn off. So I kind of recommend that. I've taken the whole timer thing out of the equation because this outlet is also in my Wi-Fi network. All right, so what you're going to see now are the wires coming out from below, and they've got these knockouts, and you can run as many as you need into there. And I'm leaving all the wires that you're going to see in this video are currently exposed because I knew I was going to be making this video, and then I'll bury some of them later. And what I might do here is just get some of the black pipe insulation that you can get at your local box store, get one length of it, and they've got a slit in the back, and slide all these wires. So I just have a little protective, foam pipe insulation on the wires coming down so nothing happens to them. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to look at, how I was taking the wire from here to the front of the house and the back of the house, okay? And we're gonna do that right now. All right, the transformer was just around the corner there, and I've got the 12 gauge wire running back in here, and it comes here. And I mentioned in the first part of the video when I was inside the garage, I had a hub, right? So it's let me see if I can. It's not easy to get open because it's going to pull the wires, but this hub has got. It's all done in here. Let me see if I can get to it, and I'm going to put a picture of it on the screen so you can see it. But it's got a lot of Wago lever nut slots underneath, and it's like a runway full of spots to plug your wires into. And so the 12 gauge wire comes in here. And then from here, a lot of other wires can branch out from here. So you're not using all these wire nuts in this spot. I put this in here where I knew I had a lot of connections coming in. So this is the main 12 coming into here, and then it continues down there. But I also have 16, like I mentioned in the diagram, coming out, going here to that spotlight there. And then from there I'm hitting these 3 well lights. I'm going here to these 2 path lights, and then to that tree, and then to that tree. So that's on a 16 wire, and it's going about 40 feet only, and picking up 4 lights on the 16. And look, here's an example of the wire nuts. There's nothing that's going to get inside. This will eventually be buried by mulch. And what I'm not going to do is dig a trench to bury all this wire. You do not need to do that. Dig a trench. You don't have to worry about wires getting cut because you're the one you just need to know where the wires are. And you don't need to bury them. Even if you did cut it, you're just going to put a couple wire nuts on there and just fasten it back together again. Don't go crazy digging a trench where you don't need to. There's one spot where you might have to dig down a little bit, and I'll show you where that was for me. So then when it comes to the light install, these things just unscrew like this. Okay. And lifts off. Then these guys unscrew too. Okay. And your LED light is got 2 prongs. This, and you just stick it right back in here like that. So you can change out the bulbs. I talked in the prior video, you know, why I chose this type of light and how I like to select the specific bulb with the specific color temperature and a specific number of lumens. Okay, so this thing just screws back on, and the post screws into one of these heavy duty stakes that I showed you a little while ago. This goes on here, and then if you don't drop it, you just tighten it up on the top. Super easy. Couldn't be easier. And like I said in my prior video too, you can swap these out. This is a 9-inch spread. I also have lights with a 7-inch spread, and that just narrows the light beam. I wanted it wider in the flower bed area. Okay. Every one of these lights has the same thing. It's got its own wires coming out, and then you're going to attach the main wire to it with the wire nuts. Okay, let's continue down and go. I got a weed in here. I've been waiting for the mulch after doing this video. Now you're gonna have times when you need to cross a pathway or cement, and I was planning the landscape lighting before we poured the cement. We redid our patio and all that, and so what I did was prior to pouring this, right before forming it out, I put 1/2-inch PVC, a section under the ground. So the 1/2-inch PVC is right here underneath, and then it goes to there, and it was the easiest thing just to push the wire through. Now if you don't have that right now, you can still do this. All you do is you take a broomstick and zip tie a garden hose to it, and at the front of that garden hose have one of those straight nozzles, not the one with the gun, but the straight one where you just spin it so it's straight. Put it on full blast, you know, down underneath, and it'll let the thing wash the dirt out from under until you can run the broomstick back and forth easily. And then if you want to, you can just run the wire through there, or you can then put your 1/2-inch PVC in, because it'll bend. Put a piece of tape on the front first so it doesn't get filled with dirt. Push it all the way through, take the tape off, then run your wire through, and you've got this conduit forever. Okay. Now here's another light here, same thing, using the same wire nuts. I think I went through maybe 50 wire nuts, or just under 50 wire nuts throughout the entire project. I also have PVC conduit because I wasn't sure what my plan was going to be, going the whole way underneath the apron of the garage. But I don't have a wire going through there now. Let's come back. So I had the 12 gauge, if you remember earlier, coming all the way to here, and then from here I'm wiring in the light and 16 to take me the rest of the way for the other lights. And this is 12 gauge coming back here, hitting this light. I'm going to take you all the way back to where the transformer was. So the transformer is over there, and I've got the main 12 just loosely just draped on the ground behind all the plants. And it's under the dirt there a little bit. And then again, I was fortunate enough to, when I had this poured, I was thinking in the future, not only for landscape lighting, but also my gas line for the grill. And I've got that going through there, PVC, and also the landscape lighting is going through that same one, and it takes it all the way to the other side. Where I come out, I hit this light, and then go underneath the path, again with the conduit,
And this will be buried. I got more stone coming, but I will leave it just like this and just cover it with stone. That way, if I need to do something, I can just pull it up and it's not buried. And here's another one of those hubs. Now this will all fill in again with the Vinca, but from this hub, I've got this spotlight, that path light, this well light that lights up this tree. I'm going over to those apple trees. I'm going to show you that in a minute. I have another spot because I haven't yet, but I'm going to wire up lights for the shed right in front. And then I also have another line coming out to handle these lights here that go just around this the patio. So now the one spot there's two spots where I used a shovel. I did not use a shovel at all except to dig down to find my conduit where I ran it. But here I wanted to tuck the wire in there. So all I did was, and I don't want to put it in there now because I got wire down there, was slide this between the grass and the patio and just widen it a little bit and just stuffed it in with my hands. That's it. Just so that way when I come through with a weed whacker, there's no chance of hitting the wire. Everything else is buried. Even the wire nuts, I even pushed the wire nuts down there. I think you might be able to see them there, the blue. So I'm never gonna hit that. You can push it down more if you want to. And the other place that I used this shovel is when I ran the wire underneath the Vinca. It's all covered. And I came out right around here. Here, see the wire in the trench? This is gonna grow over it. And all I did was, I'm gonna come away here. I would just go like this, okay? And go down deeper if you can. I got the spot, stuff the wire in. And this thing is already grown over. You cannot see the line anymore, and this was just a few weeks back. And where I've got again the wire nuts, everything wired up. This is going to get covered with more mulch. You won't see it. And the lights can be buried. So right now I've got the lights up higher. Bury them lower if you can. Sometimes you run into things like roots and rocks where you can't. These will be buried lower because I've got good soil here. Left them up for the last couple of videos. I'll push them down, put a lot more mulch in here, and then they'll be covered up. Now, the other reason why I like having these things not completely buried is the ability to add later. So I know I'm going to be, so this is the end of this line here, is this light. That's the last wire nut on this run. I'm gonna snake this through the slate. You won't see it. Of course, it's a great time for my air conditioning to kick on. And I'm gonna run another line with a little puck light under that tree, so that way that tree's got its own little illumination as you're walking down the path to get here. So I know I'm gonna do that there. There's a couple of spots like that where I'm not done adding lights. I think I may add some more at the other end of that run down there, because I have there's a little dark area when you go from this lighting up this bed to that one way over there. This is a whole dark area here, so I may add a couple of things here. And again, I can patch in right off of one of those lights, or I can just come in and just run a new wire right into the transformer and take it that way. So leaving myself with a lot of options and flexibility to be able to plan for the future. I'm just going to show you one more spot where I ran the wire through the grass. So I was coming down here for this well light that lights up this smaller weeping cherry. I got them all twisted together, and I'm noticing the size of the wire that comes with that light. It just looks like a 12. This is why I got the larger wire nuts. You didn't want to find yourself in a situation where you're twisting 3 wires together and now the small wire nuts can't handle it. So got that, goes
underneath the slate, and you can barely make out the little slit I made in the grass to go here. So now this one's buried, and I will put some grass seed around here and keep it cut kind of short, so that way the grass is not blocking the beam of light to go up here into this tree. So those are the basics to install. If you buy the right products and you plan it out, the install could be easy. I did everything that you saw, I did in one day. Planning for a while, but installed in one day. And I hope that if this video was informative for you, that you can hit that like button for me, if I could speak today. It'll help the algorithm for YouTube, so that way more people get to see this video. So if you have any questions, I will also answer them down below as quickly as I can. And if you have any comments, I'll welcome them too. Even if they're negative, that's fine. Get them all the time. Hope you enjoyed it, everyone, and that you have a great day.